First of all, I want to thank the CODART team for inviting me and Marianne de Bane for introducing me. In this lecture, I will try to shed light on the way Netherlandish carved altarpieces were transported by elaborating on every step involved. The deliverance of the altarpiece will be at the cost and expense of my lord, and at his expense will be as many boats, wagons, carts, and other things which the above-mentioned work will cost to bring here. The contract between the Antwerp artist Robert Moreau and the Abbey of Gambloux exposes the complexity and expenses involved in transporting Netherlandish carved altarpieces. At the end of the 15th and the beginning of the 16th centuries, Netherlandish carved altarpieces were transported abroad over land and sea. Om de retabels te maken, to make the altarpieces, intense collaborations between painters, sculptors, joiners, tracery carvers, and polychromers were set up. The altarpieces were thus produced by multiple artists and artist workshops. Often one person, the contractor, smoothed the process and was held responsible for the assignment. Customers could acquire altarpieces in different ways, in a ready-made state on the open market, or fully and specifically made on commission, and every option in between. The accounts of the Brotherhood of All Blessed Lady of 's-Hertogenbosch are preserved, and from a unique source shedding light on the production, commission, and transport of altarpieces. To order a new altarpiece in 1475, the Brotherhood first set up a meeting with the Utrecht artist Adriaan van Wezel to talk about the design and iconography of the work. Once the detailed design drawings were made, both parties agreed upon the timing, namely that the artwork was supposed to be ready in 2 years. Indeed, later, the Brotherhood hired a ship and navigated their way to Utrecht to collect their altarpiece. As you can see, fragments of this altarpiece are still preserved. The considerable distance between the workshops and their remote clients, and the fact that a substantial number of exported altarpieces hold signs of special requests, makes one wonder how exactly these patrons placed their orders. The contractor and the patron often drew up a detailed contract on paper. An example of a preserved contract is the one between the Brotherhood of St. Anna in Kempen and the contractor Adriaan van Overbeke for the St. Anna altarpiece, an exceptional and well-known case in which the contract, possible design drawings, and the altarpiece survive. In 1513, the Brotherhood ordered an altarpiece of the Antwerp artist Adriaan van Overbeke. Van Overbeke traveled to Kempen to draw up the contract. According to the contract, the Brotherhood was obliged to send 1 or 2 wagons to Antwerp to help with the transport. And so it happened that, when the artwork was ready, the head of the Brotherhood and a travel companion went all the way to Antwerp, a route of at least 160 kilometers, to collect their altarpiece. The costs for packing the altarpiece are noted in the final accounts. When traveling back with the artwork, Van Overbeke joined the travel team to be able to set it up in situ. In both the 's-Hertogenbosch and Kempen examples, the artist contractor physically traveled to his patron to be able to draw up the contract face to face. Meeting in person, however, was not always possible. The procedure frequently required other individuals acting as mediators. It is obvious that lines of communication resided both in the circle of international linked merchants and in the strongly connected clergy. In the middle of the 15th century, Brother Rotgerus, the monastery deacon of Wat Stena, carefully wrote down all the transactions involved in commissioning a new Lübeck altarpiece for the monastery. While ordering the artwork, all sorts of things went wrong, and his notes prove how a wide network of merchants from all over the Baltic Sea region facilitated the process of communicating the commission. The deacon reports how, in the end, much later than originally planned, and paying more than double the price that was originally agreed upon, the Lübeck altarpiece dedicated to St. Bridget finally arrived in Wat Stena. Both merchants and clergymen acted as intermediaries to communicate the demands and expectations from one side to the other. The specific wishes of the Swedish Archbishop Jacob Ulfsson who also was involved in ordering several Netherlandish carved altarpieces, for a Mechelen bell, for instance, were communicated through a letter presented to the bellcaster by both an Antwerp ecclesial figure named Antonius Masts and a merchant for Mechelen. They both represented the Archbishop on a meeting in Antwerp. Later, when the dean of the chapter of the Church of Our Lady in Antwerp, now Antwerp Cathedral, thanks the same Archbishop Ulfsson for receiving a relic of Saint Erik, the same merchants and clergymen are mentioned again. The accounts of the church mention the payment of a silversmith to make a silver angel wherein the relic could be preserved, that Antonius Mast brought from Sweden. While sources mentioning merchants involved in handling Netherlandish carved altarpieces to other countries are known, none of the surviving sources currently known mention merchants involved in handling them to one of the biggest export markets at that time, Sweden. One family, however, that could possibly have been involved in this trade network is the Leuheusen family. An extensive analysis of this merchant family reveals multiple connections with Swedish patrons of Netherlandish carved altarpieces. Reinhold Leuheusen came from Mechelen and arrived in Sweden around 1450. Reinhold was a merchant engaged in foreign commerce and acted as a church warden of the St. Nicolai Kyrka, now Stockholm Cathedral. Several sources highlight his contact with the Bishop of Strängnäs, Kurt Rogge, and the Archbishop of Uppsala, Jacob Ulfsson. Both of them are known to have acted as patrons in ordering several Netherlandish carved altarpieces, such as Strängnäs I, Strängnäs II, Itercelo, and Wegholm. Reinhold and his wife Bela had 4 children named Winrik, Martin, Anna, and Elisabeth. Son Winrik assumed the high office of Dean of the Cathedral of Västerås. The cathedral today still preserves no less than 3 Netherlandish carved altarpieces. Winrik must have known Bishop Otto Svinhufvud, who is thought to have ordered or financed Västerås II and III, and perhaps was involved in commissioning the pieces preserved in Västervennebo and B as well. Daughter Anna Leuheusen, in addition, became abbess of the monastery of the Paul Clares in Stockholm. There, 2 Brussels predella wings are originally supposed to have come from that monastery. The municipal records of Stockholm mention that merchant Martin Leuheusen had an encounter with Queen Isabella of Austria in Copenhagen in 1521. At the same time, she and her husband Christian II of Denmark possibly acquired a Netherlandish carved altarpiece. A drawing dated 1707 of the chapel of Copenhagen Castle depicts an altarpiece, which seemingly was a Netherlandish carved altarpiece, possibly the altarpiece today preserved in Viborg. In 1526 at the latest, Martin established himself in Mechelen again. It is known that Gustav Trolle, who was involved in ordering the Brussels altarpiece of Wegholm, visited him there. Daughter Elisabeth married the merchant Gorius Holst. When King Christian II stayed in Stockholm in 1520, Elisabeth and Gorius even had him over as a guest in their house. It is in this context that they connected with patron Gustav Trolle as well. Martin's son, Hans, in addition, later became merchant handling between the Low Countries and Sweden as well. He is, for example, known to have intermediated between King Erik XIV and sculptor Jacques Jongeling. If Netherlandish carved altarpieces were not traded by the Leuheusen family, then it was done at least by persons operating in the same network, as this analysis exposes how intertwined the connections of protagonists involved in late medieval transactions between the Low Countries and Sweden really were. Looking at the previously given examples of the Mechelen bell and the Swedish relic for Antwerp, the same intermediaries keep on appearing, amongst them also Antonius Mast. Several sources confirm Mast was well acquainted with the Leuheusen family. Om het retabel te leveren, to deliver the altarpiece, it had to be packed accordingly. The St. Anna Guild, a nation of packers, was possibly involved, as they are known to have been specialized in packing goods and artworks in Antwerp in the 16th century. Correspondingly, agreements on transportation costs had to be made. As the 's-Hertogenbosch and the Kempen cases illustrates, patrons often paid the costs. In some instances, not the patron, but the contractor took care of the delivery expenses. This applies to a contract dated 1521 between a representative of the Franciscans of Dortmund and the Antwerp artist Jan Gilles Vragen. Indeed, Dortmund still preserves this Antwerp altarpiece. The transport could be outsourced to professional carriers and transport firms for transport over land, or to skippers for marine transportation. The Kampen accounts mention that the Brotherhood paid the wages of professional carriers and funded their one-night stay there. For marine transport, the altarpiece first had to be brought to the docks. In 's-Hertogenbosch, 7 or 8 men were paid to carry the artwork from the sculptor's house to the ship. Once the safely packed altarpieces reached the docks, a crane or a pulley lifted the artworks into the ship. When the altarpiece arrived at its port of destination, a crane could lift the artwork from the ship, as was the case in 's-Hertogenbosch. Additionally, 12 men were paid to carry the retabel to the church. In other cases, horses and wagons were used. As was the case in the 3 aforementioned case studies, Kampen, 's-Hertogenbosch, and Dortmund, the retabel maker and his assistants could join the altarpieces on their trip to install the artwork and possibly also repair transport damages on the spot. The altarpieces were shipped in pieces and thus needed assembling at their new location. It seems rather unlikely, however, that they always did so, especially when the delivery address was further away. Most likely, intermediate persons made sure the altarpieces were rightly installed at their new altar, or the installation was taken care of locally. Several fragments bear marks that refer to their position in the altarpiece, facilitating the installation of the artwork in situ. It is thanks to the effort of all these people involved, not only the numerous artists and their workshops, but also the contractors, art dealers and merchants, intermediaries and facilitators, clergymen, patrons, packers, professional carriers and skippers, workshop assistants and local responsible persons that we can still admire these marvelous Netherlandish carved altarpieces all over the world. I thank you for your attention.